Welcome to the Last Call Kinda. I'm your host, Gerard Morgan, joined together with Greg Masturzo, our resident bartender, Drew Betteridge, our military guy, and Nick Madara, he's himself. Joining us today, we have Merv Lumba, the yogi fanatic.
Merv does yoga, and he can squat 400 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think no matter how much time I take off from squatting, that's just
Yeah.
where I'm gonna be.
It's just a standard, always 400.
He's like the girl version or the dude version of the girl who squashes the watermelon with her thighs in that one video, and it's weirdly attractive.
Rumor has it Saquon learned how to squat from Merv.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
When I was right before quarantine hit, and I was following a weightlifting program. I think my max was at like 460. So we were coming for 5, and then I was squatting to the fucking resistance band. So great.
quarantine and other ideas.
Nothing better than air squats and fucking sofa squats.
You can definitely
Yes.
maintain size with resistance bands for sure.
Oh, absolutely, dude.
Uh,
I've got
so,
an 18
and
pounder.
just push-ups. Don't forget that.
so it's been about a month since we last even thought about recording a podcast. So let's get into what we kind of have been doing the past month and a half. Greg, why don't you talk about it?
All right, so Gerard mentioned in the intro, resident bartender, no more. Be starting PT school as of this upcoming week. So we'll be bartending a bit on the side, but I don't expect too much happening with that. And then I also recently passed my CSCS.
Correct. True or false? Every bar you bartended at, wow, fucking language, has closed down.
False. False. Because I'm still currently working at a bar right now. However,
They were close.
Have
they were
been-
close. Just
there have been
That's true.
3 bars that have closed down permanently that I have worked at before and are no longer in business.
And can neither confirm nor deny they were your fault.
I claim nothing.
Right. Okay. Nick, how about you?
What have I been doing? My God. Well, I've been getting pretty invested in the stock market. You know, I've got a 401k and shit. I'm essentially a boomer. I'm starting to travel for my.
500 on DraftKings.
Oh, I heard about that actually. I'm starting to look at my doctorate program schools for performance psychology. I'm looking at Florida State, Texas. I'm not going to go to any of them because I don't want to die of COVID yet, but we'll figure it out. You know, and I wake up every day just being pretty. It's pretty much all I can do.
Thought you were
Sounds like a lot of debt coming your way.
Oh, absolutely. I'm taking like a nice little gap year or 2 or 5 to save up, maybe 10, not sure. To you know. Oh well, yeah.
We
Texas
stand for debt
rules.
on this podcast, though. We stand
God.
for it.
Drew, what's going on with you?
Oh man, this is
Well,
gonna
I
be
just
good.
got back from Europe for the second time.
Not
Yeah.
Europe. Say specifically where.
How was your vacation to Germany?
Was not a vacation.
We're actually in
Poland.
Poland, not Germany.
Hey,
How was your vacation to Poland?
Oh,
It sucked. It was
absolutely.
All right. So you were in
we
Poland
were
on
in Poland.
vacation.
And
On vacation. Why were you in Poland?
Yes. It's called an EDRI. It's an emergency deployment. Really just to flex on Russia and be like, yeah, we can send a battalion of tanks to Europe in 10 days.
That's a perfect clip. Just nothing Drew says. Why were you in Poland? Just to flex on Russia. That's it. Boom. Clip. Good. Upload it. We're good to go.
That's it.
So there's not a war going on
And
in Poland right now?
apparently, no, but Russia's been being extra aggressive lately, so they sent us there. Apparently, when we started like preparing to leave, Russia immediately deployed like 100,000 of their troops to the border of Russia and Poland.
So they flexed
Just
back.
they flexed back. They did a flex back.
Yeah.
like 2 bros in a gym.
What?
Flexing.
And so
All right, Greg.
that was my second time getting deployed to Europe, and we're preparing to go to Europe for my third time.
You're going to Europe. There's
getting
not
really
a war
tired of
in
it.
Europe. Why are you going to Europe?
Well, Russia's in Europe. There could be a war in Russia. We just don't know it.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that's the reason we're there, is
I mean,
in case
you need to upgrade from an iPhone 5.
Correct.
the Russians do try and pop off.
That lapel's doing no favors.
All right, Merv, with something better than an iPhone 5, I hope. How are you?
Really cutting out?
Just
You sound great, Drew. Keep it.
all right. Merv, tell us a little about yourself, please.
Graduated from Temple 2020. Kind of didn't really walk. They had a PowerPoint for us, and that was great. So graduated in 2020. Also worked at the gym where I did pretty much everything that Greg did, but a little
Better.
earlier.
Oh.
So I was a trainer there for 3 years, yoga instructor there for 4 years. Just moved up to Massachusetts where I'm doing my master's in exercise and sports science at Merrimack College. It's a 1-year-long program, and I have a graduate fellowship at UMass Lowell. Primary responsibilities involve track and field. So we go live on Monday, and
that's dope.
more to detail moving forward. But yeah, I just moved up to Massachusetts, trying to figure it out. So yeah.
Living that life, some considered a myth.
This was a good intro. It's just a 13.5-minute intro.
The script that you guys sent me was intros Merv for 15 to 20 minutes. And I looked at that and like, what the fuck is Merv going to talk about?
I don't know what I have to contribute. I don't know what I have to contribute that much. I'm the youngest of all of us. I don't know.
Yeah, but Merv, youngest, but probably the most established.
Now we have 2 iPhone 5s in this group. What is going on?
All right, so we heard a little bit about Merv's background. How's Massachusetts been so far?
It's like a way nicer version of Philly. Like in terms of
everything, I imagine.
Everything is cleaner. Like everything is cleaner. Even like the homeless people are nicer. I don't know, like
there's nothing quite like homeless people in Philly.
Yeah, I mean there are something. But yeah, I don't know. I'm in a kind of a weird part of Massachusetts where it's like it's nice in some areas, and then it gets kind of weird in other areas. Like really
Philly.
Weird. Yeah, exactly. But it's a little more spread out than like, you know, taking Broad Street down and like seeing, you know, what you see down on Broad Street. But
what do you see down on Broad Street?
Which part of Broad Street?
So Merv, are you all online now?
No, I take so I'm registered for 3 courses right now. I'm in sports nutrition, I guess my 3rd advanced physiology course, and an advanced strength and conditioning course.
Oh, that's dope.
So my sports nutrition course is in person. My advanced physiology lecture is online, and then my lab for strength and conditioning is at school, but the lecture is online. And so my professors are really dope. Like my sports nutrition professor came from Tufts University, which was the first sports nutrition program in the nation. So he's pretty by the book and like very detail oriented, which I need.
Is he going to listen to this podcast?
I probably not, but
just drop that link and put the link in
your. If you do, give Merv an A. He deserves it.
Signature. Put the link in your email signature.
Yeah, 100%.
That's actually not a bad call. I'm about to start signing off my Pico bills with that.
Yeah, get the person from Pico Energy getting your check. Let's listen to 4.5 idiots on a mic.
Yeah, that's true. Me and Drew are both 1/4.
No, Nick's the half.
That's just okay.
Oh, Merv's not an idiot though. It's 3.5 idiots.
You're right.
Merv is definitely the smartest one on the court now.
3 and how would it be 3.5 if there's?
Because you're half, Nick.
Yeah, but then there's 4 of you.
No,
Merv, not an
Merv
idiot.
doesn't count.
Merv always counts. Merv's the homie.
Merv's not an idiot.
Merv's not an idiot.
You're missing the point.
Okay. So we're all idiots, but I'm less than.
Can we make Nick an idiot and a half instead?
Yeah.
I'm an idiot. So that would be there's 4.5 idiots.
No,
I'm an idiot and a half.
they're spending a lot of time discussing that.
I'm not really sure.
All right. We're off topic.
We're gonna chop that, but seriously,
no, don't cut that. What was the topic?
we were
Yeah, I
talking
have no
about
idea.
we were talking about Merv's schedule. It's like a nice little mixture of online
Class load. his
That's
class.
cool though.
So Merv,
I mean,
what's
you
end
can never
goal?
learn too much about the Krebs cycle.
You said end goal?
Yeah.
Short term or long term?
Give us both.
Yes.
Short term, I'd like to be the strength and conditioning coach in the field, either at the Division 1 level or at the professional level. I don't mind potentially coaching at high school. I think those are some of the grittiest kids out there. I love working with that population, but short term, be in the field for a couple of years and then eventually go back for my PhD.
Hell yeah, brother.
Don't know where yet. Just kind of seeing how that goes. And I mean, I'm about a year and a half out from potentially applying, but looking for full-time positions at some point in the near future. And then long term, I'd like to open my own performance and research institute, just so that there's this consistent back and forth between, training and, having that backed by science, because I think that's really important. So that's what I see for myself in the future. And then eventually giving back to communities in the inner city where I grew up around, so that they have an opportunity and access to training, because I don't think there are enough opportunities for that population. So that's long-term out when I'm more established, but short-term, looking to become a better coach, a better person, and we'll see how that goes.
I don't think it's possible for you to become a better person, but
You're already the best.
you're
person.
already number one in my book. Number one on
Yeah.
pod, number one in my heart.
Appreciate you.
Merv.
Yeah.
Given we're in this weird phase with COVID where it's the restrictions being lifted each week, go back to when everything first happened. How did you adapt with your internship towards like that middling part of the semester, and even like training for like through the worst parts of COVID? If you can.
You mean internship, you said?
Yeah, for like
And then-
how that went, and then like how you yourself adapted to like the overall training for yourself through like the midst of COVID.
Yeah. So from an internship standpoint, it's kind of a shame because I was supposed to, get more opportunities to run sessions at my internship right before it all happened. But we switched to an online format primarily, and we got a lot of, it became this huge thing in the strength and conditioning community where we just like set up calls with a lot of different schools. I know I was talking to you about it like a couple of months ago, but there was this thing that like just exploded where each week we were on a phone call with a different school. Like I think I was on the call, I didn't speak, but I think we were with Minnesota Twin Cities, Arizona State. We were on with the Eagles one week. So
Birds.
yeah. And kind of got insight as to what they do for their training, what kind of technologies are they implementing. We met with Citadel and the people down there. So it became this huge networking thing and just like trying to get an idea of what other people did, which I think is a lot of strength and conditioning. I want to be hired moving forward based off of my credentials and my experience. But I mean, it's nice to know people in this field, so we try to watch out for each other. So that's how the internship kind of fluctuated. And then it kind of culminated in I created a program for an athlete. And then I had to defend the program in front of my strength coaches, which was pretty intense. But I mean, it worked out. They gave me great feedback, and that ended at that point. In terms of training, I think it forced a lot of us within this community to get very creative with what we had to do. I heard this thing yesterday in my S&C lab that the coach said, in this field, you will always be limited by how creative you are, right? It doesn't matter how little equipment, how much equipment you have. Like, are you doing something effective with what you have? And that's becomes the objective when you when all of this happens. So, I mean, we switched to an online format and you program for the athletes online. But the biggest difficulty about all of this is trying to get an idea of what adherence to the program even looks like. You're kind of taking their word for it in all reality. I guess from my own perspective, I, have to do an ego check and just understand that I won't be able to squat big weight on my back at all, So,
Right.
Like, you just gotta, you do what you're really bad at. At least it was for me. Like, I'm bad at jumping and moving forward really fast. So worked on a little speed, a little explosion, and just finally getting back into things.
Yeah, we talked about you were doing more plyometrics and stuff like that, just to kind of work on those weaknesses and even like just to change it up a bit.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, I figure if I was to focus on any kind of training that would transfer over to, my Olympic lifting, then it would be plyometrics in terms of the body positioning. In terms of the loading, it's not even close. But just from a like movement literacy standpoint, one, if I'm going to be coaching it, I better be able to do it, semi well. It's like if you have a client, you're like, do this, and like they're like, can you show me? I was like, no, you can't. I can't. So it's like, what's the point? Well. So you got to be able to have some kind of movement literacy and all these different things. But yeah, I mean, I did that, and it kind of transferred over to what I'm doing now. I mean, my clean and jerk is still around like 225 right now. And hopefully I'll get it closer to like 315. And when competitions happen, hopefully that turns out. So
we apologize for this interruption, but a word from our sponsor. What's up, gang? Were you ever just sitting around with your friends when suddenly you think, let's start a podcast? Well, that was us. And it's even easier now than ever before with Anchor.fm. That's right, Anchor.fm is your one-stop shop to create your own podcast from your home computer or on the go with your mobile device. Record, edit, and even distribution to well-known platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and many more can be done through Anchor.fm. Best part? It's free. And you can even monetize your podcasts. If this sounds like a no-brainer, and spoiler alert, it is, then download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started today. That's ANCHOR.FM. Get your brand out there.
So Merv actually brings up a pretty interesting point about having to transition from any type of gym setting to an at-home setting. And obviously athletes still have access to the gyms, but regular people might not. And there's been some pretty cool like emerging literature on how motivation is impacted by whether or not people are interested in working out at home and whether they're complying to a program and how that influences their actual training behaviors or their training habits. And I thought that was pretty cool because that ties in a lot to what Merv was talking about. For athletes, it's a little bit different. Oh, go ahead, Merv.
I think speaking from experience, I found it very difficult to stay motivated to train when how I like to train wasn't readily available to me. You're forced to train in ways that you don't enjoy training.
Yeah, exactly.
So motivation is pretty low in that aspect. You got to think of it from the athlete's standpoint too. Like Nick was saying, you don't know when you're competing again. And that's how we organize a training program, right? We organize it from when we anticipate competition happening. Mm-hmm. And so when you don't have that baseline of what that looks like, it's hard to stay motivated as an athlete, and a really interesting puzzle to try to figure out as a strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about sports psych, actually, that ties into a lot of the work that strength coaches do, because it's the sports psychologist on staff's job to figure out how to keep the athletes motivated throughout this like weird kind of transition period that everyone's going through. Because when you go from training 5-6 days a week in person with 3, 4, 5 coaches and your entire team to now maybe you're doing something solo at LA Fitness or Planet Fitness, it's like, your enjoyment's going to go down, your intent to continue is going to go down, your perceived effectiveness is going to go down. It ends up really cutting into a lot of these athletes' effective performance outcomes, long
And
term at least.
and along those lines, you look at a lot of universities at the moment who are transitioning to a more sports performance model, which means that you have a sports psychologist, you have an athletic trainer, you have all these different, and a nutritionist and the strength and conditioning staff, and you have everybody kind of under this umbrella of sports performance. However, like with COVID and budget cuts and revenue isn't coming in the same, a lot of those resources are being, cut off from the departments, and it's like, it's unfortunate, but I don't know what the details are, but it's unfortunate that like those members are getting cut off from the staff because of all of this.
So to go from college football to professional football, and kind of on the same topic, with all the injuries, we're all obviously from Philly or went to school in Philly, so Eagles are a pretty big deal for me and at least a few of us. What is the deal with the injuries happening with the Eagles? Is that like a load thing, or is that the strength and conditioning coach is using essential oils and like their senses, or what?
So
No, I
There's
gotta
not
say
enough
that-
senses.
if I were
gotta
to
say
take it, go on, Drew.
I personally, though I don't think the Eagles training staff is trying as hard as they can to keep these guys in the shape they need to be in. I'm thinking that the injuries are falling more towards the players' fault and not bringing themselves to the level of conditioning that they needed to be at, knowing that they wouldn't have a preseason or a proper training camp and going directly into a season.
Yeah, for sure.
The same problem was with the Flyers, and that's why they crushed it in the first 4 games that they played.
And then just
Then they got into the playoffs, and they were literally just being out conditioned by worse teams, and you could tell it was just because it's not that they didn't have the skill to beat them. It's because they literally they took the COVID break, as if it was an off season where they're trying to rest from the previous season.
How
And
do
then
you,
Which they just had an off season from.
how do you
well,
explain the previous season injuries? Like this is what, the 3rd season in a row of
well, the Eagles are
an
Well,
entire team of injuries?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said I don't think the Eagles training staff is trying as hard as they can to keep them healthy. But I'm just saying as an example of why in our very first game we lost 4 people.
In the game, and then we lost 5 people before the game.
well, they're like,
Right,
what,
exactly.
12
Like
starters?
those kinds of numbers are just kinds of numbers. Like,
How do you
is
lose
just telling
people
me that
before
they-
the game?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You ship them off to where? What do you mean? How do you lose people before the game? What are they getting injured? Like right before
Getting
the game?
injured in like practice and stuff along those lines.
That's ridiculous. That
Yeah.
should like almost never happen. Obviously, injuries are unavoidable, but
They're like weird. They're like hamstring injuries and stuff too. It's like,
yeah. I'm no AT, but I mean, obviously their training staff
We know a guy.
needs a little bit of. We do know a guy.
I think I think also part of it has to do with the NFL players agreement with regards to training, because fact check me on this, but I don't think they're required to train with the Eagles staff the whole year round. I think
No, they're not.
yeah,
It's-
so like
it's-
it's very
It's the
disjointed.
It's the 2-week spring camp and the two-week training camp before the season starts.
Yeah,
Before
so like
preseason usually starts.
so you have guys coming in, so that's why like all the blame can't go on the Eagles strength and conditioning staff or whatever, because or their ATs, because oftentimes it's up to these guys to find their own trainers, and what kind of credibility do these trainers have, right?
Exactly what our topic is today.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, you have a guy running around with like an altitude mask on his face while he's lifting weights and doing all these crazy things, and it's like, are you building a strong and robust athlete for them to hold up throughout the season? Like,
Yeah, dude.
You're just looking cool on Instagram. I feel like that's
But-
half the
Yeah.
problem nowadays.
We talk
Those
about
fucking footwork coaches all they
Footwork
do, all they
coaches.
post are like speed
Ladder
drills.
drills.
Yeah, ladder drills. And then you see these professional athletes like constantly posting it on their
Yeah.
sites. Like,
I mean, it's cool to do like velocity training and any type of linear speed and top speed training when you're in 6th grade, but athletes already know what they're doing. They don't need to be reinforcing ladder drills. They should be focusing on fundamentals more and making sure that they're not getting injured.
I don't know. I'm pretty
And
sure they had to
we
teach
all-
Aguilar how to catch again last year.
You might have to, my boy.
and we all know that, especially like velocity, footwork, like quickness drills, it gets to a point of diminishing returns where you need to take a step back and train something else
Yeah.
if you want to actually progress in it. And these guys are trying to do it their entire off season and think that like that's going to make not just like make them better, but keep them healthy.
Mhm.
That's not going to work.
If anything, it'd be more beneficial in season anyway. They shouldn't be doing that off season. They should be working with big weights. They should be doing a lot of power movements. But
I don't follow the NFL as close as I do like hockey because it's really all I know is hockey.
That's
and I'm
hockey
like,
talk.
oh, hold on. I understand. But,
this man says it's in a different block on the PowerPoint. Not now, Greg.
But no, my question is,
Kidding.
is there something in like the CBA or whatever for the NFL where, and you might have said this, I might have missed it, but you can't work with the team for a certain point in time? Like, you get the team from part of the off season until season ends and then postseason happens.
Yeah, this is a high school. I'm pretty sure they could practice whenever they want.
Okay.
No, yeah, the staff can't make them do anything. The players can show up to the facility whenever they want.
Okay. Because I know that was a thing where, and I know, switch over to hockey for a second, but the Maple Leafs got in trouble for that because the league complained about like their players using the facilities because they have all this money that they can just use the facility. And it was like, I don't know if that was like a thing in like football where it's like they have the option to use that facility, or if it's like only when the coaches are there they can use it, or something like that.
The Eagles facility's open year round.
That's what I figured. But
No,
Yeah, and they're all the strength coaches are all very competent people. Like I've sat in on a meeting with them. They're all very smart, and they have a member on their staff who's recognized by the CSCCA, which is considered like one of the gold standard credentials in our. He's like a mentor for other coaches. So it doesn't have to do with the competency of the coaches. I think there's this disconnect between how the athletes are training in their own time and what the Eagles have planned for them. And it's almost impossible to create this program for them if you can't account for 6 months of their time. Like,
yeah, personal accountability comes down to a lot of it. I mean, I'm not super familiar with the Eagles, but if they do have a really good coaching staff, and I imagine they would because they're a XX $1 million company.
billion.
Or billion, really? The Eagles by themselves, not the NFL. The Eagles really billion?
Yep.
All right, billion.
I'd be shocked, but
I think 1.3 billion, maybe more. I don't know.
Really?
Our fans are really good at fact checking us. We'll get tweets about it.
Yeah, I'm sure we
where's
will.
our Jamie?
No, but seriously, if they have access to high quality coaching, they have access to high quality trainers, they have sports psychologists, they have nutritionists. It has to come down to personal accountability.
3.05 billion.
Seriously? That's disgusting.
That's what
Fact
Google
check.
says. 3.05 billion I got.
Yeah, that's 3.05 billion.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, you can't believe everything on the internet, Greg.
That's true.
This
But
is-
we got the same thing.
I mean, that's from Forbes, though. That's at least like somewhat credible.
This is not Forbes. This is Biz Journal.
Look, you idiot. Climb to one spot of Forbes right there. Go up.
Yeah, Eagles climbed
Forbes.
one spot on Forbes' annual rankings of the world's most valuable sports teams, increasing in worth by an estimated $300 million over the last year.
Great beard, dumb face.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was in this year too. That was August 4th.
All right, next, because this is a personal favorite of mine, and we're talking about billions of dollars.
God.
George guaranteed wins that also might not win for the gamblers out there.
Oh.
Cincinnati Browns.
I'm gonna go
Cincinnati
drink my
versus
wine.
Browns.
Browns.
Cincinnati Browns. Yes, OBJ is a big fan of those. Go for the under tonight.
Yikes.
Tonight at 8:20. Under 44.5. You can get that at -105. Hammer it. It's gonna be a lock. They're both terrible teams. They both can't score. Colts versus Minnesota coming. I think that's
Gonna end 0-0.
It might end 0-0 to be honest. Colts Minnesota also under. Big under guy here. No points being scored.
Big under guy.
Big defense. John Ross, speedy. Lightning quick, ran a 4.22, 4.23. Lightning fast. I think he
The
also.
guy who's gotten hurt every year.
I think
he's
he also
played
ran
for.
out of his kneecap the one year. He's gonna
Merv
have.
this big with the rock eyebrow.
He's gonna have over 29.5 receiving yards. He can hammer that as well. And Austin Hooper's gonna have a low day for the Falcons, under 36.5 receiving yards. Go ahead, lock those up. Hell, I'd even parlay them. You're gonna make $1 bajillion off those.
Yo, if we could get a sponsor from MyBookie,
FanDuel.
FanDuel, yeah, but like still,
Or DraftKings, FanDuel, yeah, all of it. We're
yeah,
not
all
picky.
of them.
We're not picky.
Yeah, like literally anyone.
You could also follow me on my Action Network at Gerard Morgan 1, maybe Gerard Morgan. I don't know. It's hard to follow all my social medias. You can follow me, see how much money I make all the time. All right, Nick and Drew, this is a big part that you guys want to talk about.
I see.
Yo,
Nick and Drew, your IG influencer teardown, build up. I don't know what it is today.
I think Drew can probably start us off on this one, and I'll
You
just
You have no idea what's happening, do you?
I'll just emotionally hurt people. No, not at all. Literally no clue.
Drew,
Okay, well,
salvage
we
something.
picked this topic. What I like to call them, the Finstagrammers or Fitstagrammers.
Those are two
The
different things.
people.
yeah,
First of
Nick-
all,
Nick
those
has
are two
both.
different things because I have a Finstagram.
And you have a Fitstagram
Sorry.
that's no longer in use.
I do have a
You do.
Finstagram. God, I was a motivational train,
Is it?
just
Well,
ramming people with motivation every day.
You took shirtless pics in the IBC.
I still don't
I looked
follow Nick
okay.
on Instagram.
Dude,
that
I don't
the one
even
that got
follow
hacked?
me. No, Becky White hacked my real Instagram.
Oh,
The
Becky
other
White
one
guy.
is no one wants to touch that because there's like, why is this skinny man with abs on my screen all the time?
All right.
So,
go ahead.
Anyway,
well, we just want to have a short discussion on how we kind of hate the fact that
we don't hate
No.
it. Kind of. It's like a definite hate.
okay, it's
It's
a mild
kinda
mild infuriation.
Yeah,
A
for
mild
sure.
infuriation.
That works.
That's fair. That's fair.
I just hate things.
Although social media provides a great platform for people to get their message out there, we do think there is a certain level of qualification you need to have to talk about the topics that you want to talk about, especially when it comes to health and fitness, when you could actually alter people's lives by giving them the wrong advice.
For sure.
And you just, you'll scroll down your feed, especially in like that search function that Instagram
Oh
has.
God, that makes me want to gag.
Basically, whenever you see somebody's profile and it's their name followed by the word fit,
Oh yeah.
you can
Mhm.
almost guarantee that you're going to get nonsense information from it.
Drew, can you
Not all
spell
the time.
guarantee real quick?
G guarantee.
That was
Good.
well said. Well said.
Throwback to earlier in the episode. Continue.
Can we just
I
cut
think-
out Gerard? Like,
Nope.
just
Nope,
cut the
leave it
whole
in.
thing out.
Leave it in.
No, not even just that clip. Just cut out Gerard.
A lot of editing. I'm gonna pass. I don't have all day.
No, but I mean, Drew makes a pretty good point. It's like detrimental for a lot of people who are at home who've been at home for the last like 6, 7, 8 months, and they're starting to get worried because they're gaining, the quarantine 15, or they're starting to lose a little bit of muscle because they're not at the gym, and they see people like, yo, you can get ripped doing, different
Push-ups.
variations of push-ups, or like you can do different variations of planks, and like, sure, that stuff has its place, and those are good exercises and good quality movements if they're done right, but you're not going to be getting the same effect from body weight push-ups or body weight squats or band curls or band squats that you would be from like hard dumbbell or hard barbell movements. It's just not going to happen, and people portraying that is like a really, really toxic and harmful idea that's like spread the last 6 months. All you see all over Instagram, like, oh, try this new booty band blaster, and then girls are like, well, I've been trying this. I've been doing squats, and yeah, I know you already got a fucking
body weight hip thrusters.
but it's serious. It's a problem, because then people start to get discouraged and they start to say, oh, maybe fitness isn't for me, or maybe I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm not doing enough. And in reality, it probably comes down to the fact that they're just not eating enough protein and they're not training with big weights. That's like 90% of people's problem when it comes to gaining muscle or weights at all. Yeah,
maybe
for
it
sure.
doesn't need to be big weights, but
yeah,
take somebody who all they do is run,
oh, disgusting.
and they don't look the way that they don't look like that one Instagrammer.
Yeah, like Greg
says they need to run to lose weight.
Oh.
And they're like, well, this chick or this dude looks like this, and he says to run, so I'm running and I'm not looking like that.
Yeah,
it's almost, and it goes to your point, like that's what detracts people from wanting to actually get into proper exercise. And it also detracts from the people who actually know what they're talking about, because they'll come up and say, well, based off science, you should try this instead.
Yeah.
Maybe you should throw some weightlifting into your program. And they're like, nah, you don't look like that person that I want to look like, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. It's easy when you're born with a pretty face and, chiseled abs to sell anything related to health and fitness, because people eat that shit up because it's such a superficial field, right? Instagram's largely a facade, but for the most part, sharing like quality information should be at the number one priority for people, even if it means they don't gain followers as fast, right? Like gaining 1 million followers over a year or 3 years is a huge difference, but if it takes you 3 years and you have a good fan base, like Dr. Mike Isratel, Dr. Brad, like any of these homies that like really know their stuff and know what they're doing, and try and share good information, you see that their growth is not this ridiculously linear, 1 to 1 million overnight. That's because the whole pretty face stuff doesn't work, and it's not gonna get you motivated. It's not gonna keep you on track. Hard science will.
That brings up the point. It's like where do people even start to try to find quality information?
Yeah.
Like am I going to look at this? If I'm a general population person, like, am I going to look at a peer-reviewed scientific article, like very dense, or am I going to go scroll through my Instagram, while I'm taking a dump and be like, oh shit, like I want to look like that, So.
About to drop 4 pounds on this dump.
On that, I do think, I'm not saying all Fitstagrammers are bad. If you do
there are some that are pretty good.
If you do choose to scroll through Instagram, because not everybody is like us who reads scientific articles for like the sake of learning something new.
We're actually nerds.
I'd
like to point out that I do not fall under that.
Well, as in me, Greg, Merv, and Nick, we can read a scientific article and understand it, and we can get enjoyment out of it because we understand it. You'll read the words, and we've studied it, so we know what it's talking about. But somebody who's, not our major, our profession, they're not going to find interest in it. So if they're scrolling through Instagram, I definitely think there are things that they can look for to find credible sources, like reading an Instagrammer's bio. If their entire thing is selfies and booty blaster exercises, and you look at their bio and it says nothing about them being certified in anything, personal trainer, usually you can see the letters CPT or CSCS or
I can put that in my bio, can I? I can put that in my bio.
You can put that in your bio.
Yes, you could. That's true.
Do you guys,
but if
do you guys
you
have
don't
a few?
see,
Sorry, go
say
ahead.
again?
Go.
No,
Nope, you. Leave this in.
You're the moderator. Ask the question, Gerard.
God damn it.
You have
He's the host.
if you have those qualifications, you're going to want to put that in your bio so that people can find it and know that you know what you're talking about. If somebody doesn't have that, then they haven't actually done any education in it. And you might want to dive a little bit deeper into their page before saying, like, yes, this is the person I am going to base my workouts off of.
And to that point, I think it's really important for, Fitstagram people aren't terrible. It's,
Some.
They don't have like ill intent, I think, for the most part,
100%,
right?
yeah.
Right.
But when you're trying to prescribe programming to people who you don't know, who you haven't talked to, or you're providing diet advice to somebody who you don't know what their dietary intake is, that becomes an extremely dangerous thing.
Yeah. Especially once you start to get into food. Like I stay away from food. I used to stay away from food, and I try and stay away from food if I'm training clients now, because it's tough and it's not something that I specialize in. So it's like, I'm not a sports nutritionist. I'm not a registered dietitian. So I can give you parameters like, make sure you're eating lots of protein. Like sweet potatoes are good. White rice, great. Like I can push you in the right direction, but I'm not going to sit there and make you a nutrition guide because I'm not 100% confident in my ability to do that. Plus, I don't know everything about you. And even if I did, if you told me you were diabetic, I'm not 100% sure how that should change the program that I might write for you, right? And a lot of that stuff can be, if anyone's diabetic, if anyone has like any type of blood-related issues like anemia or any of that stuff, I'm not sure how that affects it, but you got to be really careful once you start diving into what people are putting in their body. It's a little different when you're just prescribing workouts and you're telling them to do 3 sets of 12, but telling someone to eat fish and they're like, I'm allergic to fish. You're like, eat fish. I'll die. I will literally die.
Well, that's like we're capable, like, based on knowledge we've gotten of like at least giving parameters, like you said, like we can calculate based on some minimal information we know about them.
Yeah,
how
for
many
sure.
calories they should estimated like have, and like you could break down ratios for them on what like their estimated ratios could be. But like anything past that, you're running the risk of, it's like you said, you don't know if they're, I guess diabetic would be one where you don't know any medical history or anything like that. Where it's like, all right, what can they have? What can't they have? It's like it's stuff that you're not going to ask in your typical maybe.
It's just a bit out of your scope of practice, and it's almost like, because you should care about your client, you don't want to send them down the wrong path, right? Like if you're a professional and you want to be recognized as good at what you do, as a good strength coach, as a good trainer, as a good psychologist, you never want to put your client down the wrong path, or put anyone, even if they're not a client, someone who's interested in information. You always want to try to provide them, your best service. And even if you have a 90%, margin of error, you almost have everything, but you're missing one or two things, that could be the difference from someone really getting like noticeable results. So yeah, that wraps it up. Fitstagram, they're not evil. They're just beautiful people with dumb brains.
So there's a lot of Fitstagrams and all that. Do you guys have a few off the top of your head that you would suggest people follow or suggest people unfollow?
Bret Contreras.
That's a good one.
Contreras, definitely.
Bret Contreras. Dr. Spencer.
Yeah, Dr. Spencer is great.
And then
Layne Norton for nutrition.
Layne's good.
JPS Education. At JPS_education.
And one of my favorites, Joe Defranco.
Oh, here we go. I got a good one. Someone who is not, from what I believe, is not
just scrolling
certified. Meg Squats.
Yeah, Meg's okay. I like Meg.
Meg Squats gives some of the best advice for the general public.
She does a lot of good work with lower body strengthening too for women. She's like real big advocate for women squatting heavy, deadlifting heavy, lunging heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met her at the NSCA National Conference a couple years ago in July, and I talked to her a little bit about how she sets up her programming and pretty much just making sure. I think her big thing is just ensuring that like people are physically active, especially women. She's big into that. So like her programs reflect that. They're not super pricey, but they're very accessible to a huge population. And she's really personable and she knows her stuff. So
if you want a more in your face profile,
no.
Dr. Mike.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh yeah,
We do
and
love
he's
Dr.
like
Mike.
the number. He's like
He's the homie.
yeah.
He's got a filthy back. He looks like a fucking gorilla when he lifts, but he's the absolute homie, and he's so knowledgeable.
Well,
But
also
no
RP
filter.
in general, you can follow too.
Absolutely no
True.
filter or sympathy for anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think to kind of wrap this up, better than Gerard would, because first of all he's ugly. But I think
Cut that. I want that cut.
That's going in.
I think Drew made a really good point earlier. If you are scrolling through Instagram and you see somebody who's just got a nice body and a pretty face, maybe be a little skeptical when reading information they're providing. You know,
2016.
try. Excuse me, 2017. First of all, try to find people who are doctors or certified strength and conditioning coaches or sports nutritionists or even certified personal trainers to an extent. And they usually know what they're doing, even if they're still learning. You take it with a grain of salt, but just watch out for the people on Instagram.
Speaking of good people to follow, you can follow me at Gerard Morgan official account. Greg, we can find you where?
Greg_Masturzo.
Merv?
The Merv Lumba.
Nick?
Don't find me anywhere, please.
Drew?
Don't follow my main page, but you can follow my lacrosse team at Austin Jazz LC.
And
all these handles will be in the description below. So
Drew really would have peaked when he was 17 if he had gone in the lacrosse. He would have been the dude wearing Vineyard Vines with those fucking shoes.
All right,
I don't even know what they're called.
Y'all just killed a perfect intro, and goodbye, everyone.
See you, boys.
Goodbye.
Take it easy.
Thank you once again for listening. You can find us on Instagram at Last Call Kinda. That is our official Instagram account for this podcast. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Music, and any other places podcasts can be downloaded.